Good afternoon, students. I am Devanshu, and I basically train students for GRE verbal section. GRE is Graduate Record Examination, which is mandatory for pursuing your master's coursework from specifically United States of America. And today we have a small video introduction to our demo class in GRE, wherein we'll be elaborating on the different types of questions that are asked inside the verbal section of GRE examination, the scoring criteria, the score validity, and we'll be having a smaller part of the word list and a few practice questions to follow. So as I've already told you that this is going to be our demo class, wherein we'll be discussing a few words, and we'll also be discussing a few practice questions together with those words. So to have a quick overview of GRE, which is the Graduate Record Examination, it's a computer-based examination. There are 3 sections inside GRE, that is verbal, quant, and AWA. AWA stands for Analytical Writing Assessment. The collective score of the verbal and the quant section is out of 340. Individually, each section comprises of a scoring between 130 and 170. The scoring for AWA is done out of 6 pointers with a 0.5 score increment. In GRE, AWA is always the first section that you will have to attend, which is Analytical Writing Assessment. It is a 1-hour section. Inside that, you have 2 different questions that you have to solve. An issue task, wherein you will be provided with a prompt and you will have to elaborate on that prompt. An argument task, wherein you will have to build an argument based on an author's opinion. As I've already said, that the total score for AWA is scored out of 6 pointers, and each issue and argument task is of 30 minutes in length. The verbal section of GRE basically comprises of 2 different sections of 30 minutes each, and inside these 2 sections you have a total of 20 questions. The verbal section questions can be broadly categorized into 3 major categories, that is reading comprehension, text completion, and sentence equivalence. The collective scoring of these 2 sections inside verbal is out of 170. Reading comprehension section inside GRE is just like the reading comprehensions that you used to have during your school or college level, but definitely with a higher difficulty. Inside the reading comprehension, you will have an unseen passage that you will have to solve. Along with the unseen passages, you will have respective questions that follows. There will be 2 different type of questions inside reading comprehension. One is a single select question, wherein you will have 5 options and you will have to select one correct answer choice out of those 5. The other type of question is a multi-select question, wherein you will have 3 different options, and out of those 3 options you can either select a single option, 2 options, or all the 3 options based on your understanding of the reading passage. The next type of questions are text completion questions, which are just like the regular fill-in-the-blank questions that we used to solve previously. However, here there are again 2 different types of questions that are asked inside text completion. This is single sentence, single blank type of question, which as you can see on your screen is question number 1, where you have 1 blank and you have 5 options, out of which 1 would be a correct answer for that blank. The second type of question is a multi-sentence and a multi-blank question. Inside this, for each individual blank that you can see on your screen, you will have 3 answer choices, and out of those 3 answer choices, you have to select one correct answer choice for each blank. The last type of questions that they ask inside the GRE verbal section are the sentence equivalence questions, wherein again, just like the fill-in-the-blanks, you have a blank and you have 6 options from which you have to select 2 most appropriate answer choices, which when filled individually in the blank, provide us with a sentence with exactly the same meaning. So, for instance, if we mark the answers as answer number A and answer number B, so the answer to this particular question with option A should provide a sentence with meaning which should be equal as the one with option number B. As I've already said that this is a demo class, So, in terms of GRE, the most important thing that you have to remember for the verbal section is that you have to focus on the words. As you might have seen from the type of questions that are asked inside GRE, most of the verbal section is based purely on the words, their meanings, and the usages. That means the context in which they are used in a sentence. Keeping that in mind, we too, during the main GRE classes, provide students with a broader overview of the different categories of words that have frequently used inside the GRE examination. Along with that, we also try to provide the students with the meaning of the word as well as a sentence in order to tell them how that word can be used in terms of paragraphical structure. Starting with today's class, I've taken a very elementary group of word list wherein the words which we'll study will fall under a broader context of being temporary inactive or in a state of pause. Broad context is basically the umbrella term under which different words will fall which have a similar meaning. You can call them as synonyms as well. Some might be direct synonyms, some might be far related synonyms of each other. So the broad context for today is temporary inactivity or pause. The first that we'll study under this particular broad context is abeyance. Abeyance means a state of temporary inactiveness or something which is temporarily inactive. Now, in order to remember this word in a longer term, what we can do is that we break this particular word into two different parts. So you can have ab, and because the abeyance sounds something like yawning, so you can say ab plus yawn. So you can relate it to maybe a situation where the students in a class are yawning and the teacher gives a 5 minutes break so that students can feel refreshed again. So that break time will denote the exact meaning of the term, that is a temporary inactive. How do we use it in a sentence? So the news broadcast will return after a temporary abeyance. The next word in the word list is dormant. Dormant means sleeping or temporarily inactive in nature. How can you remember this word for a longer term? Dormant can be related to the word doorman. Now generally doormen usually sleep during the duty hours. So whenever the word dormant comes, we can associate it with the word doorman, and we can relate that because a doorman sleeps during the duty hours, it means sleeping or a temporary break in any activity. The usage for this word can be the dormant volcano will never explode now. The third word in the word list is hiatus. Hiatus means an interruption in time or space. In simpler terms, it again means a temporary break in any activity. Now, how do you remember this particular word for a long time? You can break this word hiatus into three different individual words. That is hi, at, us. So whenever someone says hi to us, we basically stop for a while in whatever task we are doing. So we provide a temporary break to our task to pay attention to who is actually speaking to us. That is how you can remember the word hiatus for a longer duration. The sentence for this particular word can be, she used the hiatus in her career to hone her skills. So she basically provided a break in her career as an opportunity to develop her skills or enhance her skills. The next word in the word list is hibernation. Hibernation is a very simple term which we have been learning since our school time during our science subject. Hibernation means sleeping throughout the winter. This term is mainly associated with polar bears because they have a habit of hibernating or sleeping for elongated terms during the winter time. So the sentence for this particular word could be, the polar bear will go into hibernation for the winter. The next word in the broad context is latent. You might have come across this word in terms of latent heat, which you all have to calculate. Latent in simple terms means present but inactive. How you can actually remember this word for a longer time? You can break this word again into two different words. Lay at tent. Whenever someone lays inside the tent, they are present in the in the tent, but they are inactive and they are also hidden from the outside world. The sentence for this particular word can be, the professor asked the students to calculate the latent heat. The last word that we'll be doing today inside this particular word group is lull. Lull means a period of reduced activity. You can remember or associate this word with lullaby. Whenever a mother sings a lullaby to her child, the child basically goes into sleep or a period of reduced activity. The sentence for the word is, the clear sky is just a lull before the storm. Now, another important aspect of GRE examination is that you just don't have to remember the words, their meanings or their usages, but you also have to apply what you have learned into solving questions that are basically based into the three categories that we discussed before. That is text completion, sentence equivalence, and reading comprehensions. So what we will do next is we will try to solve one question from each category so that we know that we have better understood the meaning of the words that we just discussed. So the first question that now pops up on the screen is from the category of text completion, where you have a blank and you have 5 options through which you can find the correct answer. The question says, with the euro crisis in dash, high oil prices have become the latest source of worry for the world. You have 5 different options which are present for you: abet, abeyance, connive, jeopardy, and acclivity. Now, if you look at the sentence carefully, there are 2 different situations that are being discussed in this particular sentence. The first situation relates to euro crisis. The second situation relates to high oil prices. The sentence that relates to high oil prices is complete. So when we are trying to find the answer for this particular question, we always start with the sentence which is complete and try to figure out the word which needs to be filled inside the blank. Now it says that high oil prices today have become the latest source of worry for the world economy. That means these particular oil prices are presently, now as you can see from the sentence, it says that high oil prices have become the latest source of worry for the world economy. That means this particular situation is currently occurring in the world economy and the world economy is struggling from it. That means the previous situation that is stated right before the comma, that is the euro crisis, that situation has subsided. It has been overshadowed by the situation of high oil prices. So whenever a situation thing is subsided or it has been overshadowed, that means it has gone into a state of decreased activity or in a state of temporary inactivity. Thus, it means it has gone into abeyance, because abeyance word means temporarily inactive. Out of the given words, if you look at the meaning of the other words, none of the word means that they are in a state of temporary inactiveness. Thus, the correct answer for this particular question would be abeyance. Let us try to solve another question. So the next question that we are going to discuss is a sentence equivalence type of question. The question states, the stern government of Nicholas was, however, so far effective that Poland remained dash during the Crimean War, in which many Polish soldiers fought in the Russian army. Now, as you can see from the last line of the question, it clearly states that Polish soldiers fought in the Russian army. It is a clear indicator that during the time of war, if the Polish soldiers are fighting with the Russian army, that means Poland is not directly participating in the war. If Poland is not directly participating in the war, that means Poland is, as a nation, in a state of inactivity during that war. even though its soldiers might be fighting in some other army, the nation remains inactive as it does not contribute towards the outcome of the war directly. So out of the given 6 options that we have with us, we need to identify 2 most appropriate options, which basically state a period of reduced activity or temporary inactiveness. When we look at the meanings of the 6 options, 2 different options, that is option C and option E, fall in the same category. Quiescent means temporarily inactive, and lull means a period of reduced activity. So these 2 would be the most appropriate options that can be filled in as the answer for this particular question. The third type of question that we keep practice today is that of reading comprehension. We have a small passage right in front of us. The passage states, on the basis of the Big Bang theory, scientists predicted levels of helium-3 in the universe that are 10 times greater than the levels actually observed. According to the original model, helium-3 is produced when low-mass stars burn up hydrogen and become red giants, as well as being produced in the Big Bang itself. Researchers have now produced a new model in which the helium-3 produced by a red giant is pushed to the star's interior and burnt up. Hence, the Big Bang theory is no longer undermined by helium-3 data. Now, as you can clearly observe in this given passage, there are 2 lines that are highlighted in bold. The 2 portions in boldface are related to each other in which of the following ways. So the reason these 2 lines were highlighted in bold is because we had a question which was based directly on these 2 sentences. So out of the 5 options, we have to select one correct answer choice for the given question. The best technique that we can basically incorporate here is to start eliminating all the wrong answer choices that we can find. Option A says that the first sentence highlights an observation that tends to undermine a particular theory. The second is that theory. Now, if we quickly look at these 2 sentences, even though option 1 or the sentence 1 here, it definitely has an opinion that undermines a theory, the second is basically not the theory in itself. It is basically a conclusion statement that is being put forward by the author. It is the opinion of the author after all due consideration to the facts and the figures presented in the paragraph. The second option says that first is a fact that undermines a theory. The second is context for accepting that theory. Now again, because it is not a context, it is an opinion of the author as a conclusive statement to the given paragraph, this option also cannot be marked as the correct answer. Option number C. The first points to an inconsistency in a particular model. The second is the author's main conclusion. Now, if you look at the first sentence, it says that on the basis of the Big Bang theory, scientists predicted levels of helium-3 in the universe that are 10 times greater than the levels actually observed. So, on the basis of a theory that has been devised, scientists actually were able to predict the levels of helium-3 which were 10 times more than the previously observed levels or the previously actually known levels of helium-3. That means there has been an inconsistency in the presently identified levels and those levels which were previously observed by the science. So the first part of option C holds true. The second is the author's main conclusion. Now, if we look at the entire paragraph that is provided to us, the last line starts with the word hence, and then based on all the observations that the author makes in the middle parts of this particular paragraph, he provides an argument, or he provides a conclusive statement, as I've already been saying, that the Big Bang theory is no longer undermined by helium-3 data. This is a concrete opinion that has been put forward by the author keeping into mind all the researches and all the facts that have been presented to him. Hence, if we say that the second is the author's main conclusion of the paragraph that is provided to us, this sentence also holds true for the option. Hence, for our question, option C is the best possible choice. The reason why we did not mark option D and E, even if we consider the situation that C was not our answer, even we did not mark D and E as the answer, is because the entire options that are being presented to us, they are not completely true in context of the passage, and they are not completely true in relation to how those two bold lines are being used in the passage and how they interrelate to each other. So this was a quick overview of the different type of questions, basic of how to solve those questions, and how words, their meanings, and the context in which those words are being used in GRE plays a major dominant factor in how well you will attempt the questions and how well you will score in the GRE exam. A few final comments about the GRE is that there is no negative marking. The scores are valid for 5 years. Results are available to the participants in 14 days. The test fee for GRE is $205. And definitely there is an experimental section in the GRE examination as well. How do we help you prepare for the GRE examination? So we have live classes through Zoom for both verbal, quant section, wherein the trainers guide the students and practice questions with them live, get a discussion going on for those questions, and clear the doubts of the students. The class durations generally last for around 1.5 hours for each verbal as well as the quant section. We provide the entire study material to the participants so that they do not have to rely on any kind of outside material. This study material includes the entire word list, sheets of formulae for the quant section. If we talk about the verbal or the quant collectively, so a lot of practice test sheets that we provide to the participants. And then definitely we have full-length mock examinations, which we open up for the participants so that they get a taste of how exactly it means to be appearing in the main GRE examination. We have doubt sessions and weekly assessments for all the participants. Doubts are solved both individually as well as in group sessions so that each participant can learn from their own mistakes as well as the common mistakes students do while attempting GRE questions. For every mock test that the student will be appearing for with us, individual feedbacks will be provided to the student so that they are able to know their improvisation areas and build up on the strategies that we provide in the next mock examination, thus improving their overall score in the GRE. If I specifically talk about the verbal section, we will be doing an extensive list of words, their meanings and their usages. We'll be going through a list of synonyms and antonyms for the words that are frequently asked in the GRE examination. We will have classes for root words, prefix and suffixes, strategy development to solve questions in either of the sections, that is text completion, sentence equivalence and reading comprehension. Practice classes, which basically refer to the weekly doubt solving session and the weekly tests that we'll be providing to the students. And mock sessions, that is towards the end of our GRE classes, the full-length mock series that we'll be providing to the students. So this marks the completion of today's demo class. I have elaborated you majorly on all the aspects of the examination as well as how we will help you prepare for the GRE examination. Thank you.